It was almost midnight when Jake finished his overtime shift. The office was empty, silent except for the low hum of the air conditioner and the flickering buzz of fluorescent lights. He rubbed his tired eyes, shutting down his computer. The building always felt different at night, too quiet, too hollow. The kind of quiet that made your own heartbeat sound louder than it should. The elevator was waiting at the end of the hall, its metal doors gleaming under the dim light. Jake pressed the button, and the familiar ding echoed down the corridor. The doors slid open with a slow, mechanical hiss. He stepped inside and pressed the button for the ground floor. As the doors began to close, a pale hand slipped through the gap, stopping them. Jake jumped slightly as a woman stepped inside. She was dressed in a faded gray coat, her long black hair hanging down like a curtain, almost completely hiding her face. She didn't look up or acknowledge him. She just stood silently in the corner, facing the elevator wall. Jake, feeling the need to break the silence, nodded awkwardly. "Ah, late night for you too." No answer. The elevator began its descent, the soft hum of the machine filling the small space. Jake tried not to stare, but something about the woman was unsettling. Her hands hung limply at her sides, her head tilted just a little too far forward. The fluorescent light above flickered as they passed the 10th floor. Then the elevator suddenly stopped. The light went out, plunging them into absolute darkness. Jake's breath caught in his throat. "Oh, great. A power outage," he muttered, fumbling for his phone. But before he could turn on the flashlight, a soft sound came from the corner. It was humming, a woman's voice, low, broken, almost childlike, humming a tune he didn't recognize. The sound echoed in the dark, sending chills crawling up his spine. Jake forced a shaky laugh. "Hey, I'm sure maintenance will fix this in a second." Still no response, just the humming. Then, in a brief flash of emergency lights flickering on, he saw her reflection in the elevator's polished metal doors. Her head was still bowed, but her reflection was staring straight at him. Jake froze. His mind raced. That's not possible. He blinked, and the lights flickered off again, leaving him in darkness once more. The humming stopped. The air grew heavy, thick, like the walls were closing in. Jake could hear her breathing now slow, deliberate, and far too close. He finally managed to turn on his phone's flashlight, aiming it around the small cabin. The beam landed on the elevator buttons, flickering erratically between the 11th and 12th floors. But the button for the 13th floor was glowing a steady, sinister red. Jake frowned. There was number 13th floor in this building. It didn't exist. It was an old superstition. Then he heard a whisper, a sibilant sound right beside his ear. 13. It was the woman's voice, soft, raspy, impossibly close. Jake whipped the light around, but the elevator was empty. The corner where she'd stood was vacant. His stomach dropped into a cold pit of dread. The elevator jerked violently, throwing him against the wall. The numbers on the display started climbing: 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 13. The doors slid open with a groan. A blast of cold, stale air rushed in. The hallway beyond was dim and flickering. The walls were gray, streaked with something dark and wet. It didn't look like any floor he'd ever seen in the building. Jake stepped forward cautiously, his heart hammering against his ribs as he peered down the hall. "Hello, is anyone there?" The doors began to close behind him. He turned quickly, but before he could react, a hand shot out from the darkness and grabbed his shoulder. It was ice cold, the grip shockingly strong. He spun around. The woman stood there, closer than she had ever been, her face finally visible under the harsh, flickering light. Her eyes were milky white, devoid of life, and her mouth was stretched into an impossible, horrifying grin. Jake stumbled backward, his voice trembling. "What do you want?" Her voice was distorted, echoing as if it came from somewhere far away and deep underground. "Someone rode the elevator. When I died, the air grew freezing." Jake's breath fogged in front of his face. He could now see the faint outline of a name tag still hanging from her torn coat. Lena maintenance staff. And then the memory hit him, a story from years ago, an accident. A maintenance worker had been tragically crushed between floors when the elevator malfunctioned. The old building superstition. No one had used that elevator alone at night since. Until tonight. The lights flickered wildly like a failing strobe. Lena stepped closer, her head jerking in unnatural, bird-like movements. Her dead eyes locked on him. Jake, in a blind panic, slammed the button for the ground floor over and over. But the elevator didn't move. The doors began to close again, trapping him with her. She slowly raised one hand and pointed a single, bony finger at him. Her voice was a whisper and a scream all at once. "Now it's your turn to ride. With me." The elevator dropped suddenly, shaking violently as it plunged down the shaft. Jake screamed, gripping the handrail for dear life, the light flickering in frantic bursts. For one final, terrifying moment, he saw her face inches from his pale, hollow, and twisted in a grin that wasn't human. The darkness that followed was absolute. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more chilling tales. Let us know in the comments what you would have done in Jake's situation. Thanks for watching and stay safe.